Oh, hey, we're live. I clicked the button. I still surprised myself. This is like the old days before we ever had a theme song or anything. It's just Reese going live and yakking for a while. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Doing fine. I actually could have put one of the things up. I tested out. I got it working, but
Ooh, well, hey, let's pretend we didn't do this thing and then go with the intro video.
Oh, okay, here we go. Let's make me big. Where are we at? We've got nope, that's not the wrong one. There should be here. There we go.
There's no audio.
Yeah, no audio.
Oh, is the audio come through? I thought I fixed it. Oh, here we go. This was the problem. Here we go again.
I'm here to buy back slaves and punch heretics, and I'm all out of slaves.
We say hello to my little hand.
I'm here to buy back.
There. You got your audio that time, I hope.
Oh man, Merry Christmas! It's time.
Yeah. You know, it's the day after Halloween. It's Christmas now.
Yeah. You know, I was actually just thinking about that the other day. I think almost every holiday or special day, we say happy. Christmas is the only one that gets something special.
No, I say mostly merry, usually, for most holidays.
You know what's funny is like Thanksgiving sitting there like saying, "Hey, I'm still here. I'm still here."
well, for you Americans, like us Canadians had our Thanksgiving a few weeks ago.
Yeah, because you guys can't be cool as us and join us.
Theirs is closer to the historical time that Thanksgiving was celebrated by most cultures.
Let's
harvest festival.
Guys, come on. Let's not spend time bagging on America's habits.
Canada just knows how to spread things out.
Yeah, and actually, I got to say, you're probably right, because the fact of the matter is that the placement of Thanksgiving in the early 20th century, when it was done officially for the whole country, and daylight savings time were both designed to encourage people to shop over Christmas time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Franklin Roosevelt, that bastard, intentionally set those up to manipulate people into acting out on their personal charity.
Yeah, because the original Thanksgiving, by what the Pilgrims celebrated would have been like at the end of September.
Samhain was also a Thanksgiving harvest festival, so if you celebrate it properly, you get 2 in a row.
Yeah, for sure.
Dave in the chat points out, blessed Passover.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, but that's not... I know there's a lot of Jewish people in America, but, for most Americans, I wouldn't say most Americans celebrate it, so...
Yeah. The thing about there are only 2 languages in the world that don't call Easter Passover, right? In every other language, it's some moderate, it's some transliteration of the word Passover, or Pesach, or Pasch, or Pasg, and in only in America and in Germany is it called Easter.
Yep.
And
that for a very specific reason, from an old German celebration.
Well, they think there's actually there's no super solid scholarship about it, but except that it's either a celebration or just like a word for the time of year. It could even be because it's related to the word for dawn in mechanics. So it would have to do with just the time, just like we say spring or autumn. And Easter could just be the thing, and then when the whole area is Christianized, they're like, oh well, we celebrate their air at the dawning of the summer, the dawning of the year. We have this celebration of so this became the Easter.
Well, a lot of them are like that. Halloween, Samhain, literally, it's the end of Sahana, which is the summer. So that it literally just means summer end. Right. And Rick, actually, that's another one. If you say it in its native tongue, it translates more to merry Samhain than it does to happy.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is Samhain was actually not celebrated in October at all. It was generally, like you said, it was in September and stuff like that. So
the calendar was not the same either.
That's the other thing too. Well, interesting thing is I was just learning, one of the early church fathers in terms of on the Catholic side, one of the reasons why it was a German pastor, Pope, he pushed for because he wanted to convert Jews from Judaism to Christianity, trying to distance, once again during that time frame they were very anti-Jewish and stuff like that. So that's another, gotta love the Luther crew, and for all the good they did, they had a lot of bad stuff they did too.
Yeah.
So
anyhow, so to answer Dave's question, the topic is not holidays officially, but because I don't have a really good planning process this week, because I have been up to here with everything, that this is just happening that way. So
it's because Rick said something that triggered a bunch of historian nerds, and then we just ended up into a conversation.
Basically,
I was just commenting based on American thing that or American, Canadian, English, whatever you want to say. How we say it's Happy Halloween, Happy Thanksgiving, Happy Easter, Happy Valentine's Day, Happy this, Happy that, and it was because of the Merry Christmas thing that Meadow showed.
It's actually Hana Hana Diev.
Also,
okay, if you say so.
Maybe one of the things I want to do in 2021 or 2023. Oh my God.
Dude, you're way behind, man. We're not going backwards. We left 2021 a while ago.
I'm telling you right now. Next Tuesday, everything starts running backwards. I guarantee it.
Just because this weekend it changes. What sucks? Daylight saving time is on Sunday, which is also my birthday. I turned 40. It's like,
I had thought they were getting rid of daylight savings time.
It didn't pass the House.
Some places are, some places not. It's really just gonna throw everything.
So states can't decide. There's already Arizona doesn't do it.
States can opt in and out on their own. Personally, I think the best way for Nebraska to work it, because Nebraska is a really long state. We're in 2 different time zones, and I've always thought that was stupid. But if we keep daylight savings time in mountain time and apply that to the entire state, that would be the most equitable and most where the times line up with their life cycles of the whole year, throughout the whole year, across the state, even though we're so wide. But the thing is it'll never go over, because all the people with power and money are in Lincoln and Omaha, and they don't even know we exist.
Yeah, I got a better idea. Disobedience. If we all just do not follow daylight savings time, then it'll cease to exist on its own.
Well, that's true, but the problem is you're not going to be able to get enough people to pull the Arizona and just do what they want.
Yeah, the last thing I just read the other day was it failed in the House. Senate already passed it. Failed in the House, and they're trying to make it done because I think it's 2023. States actually can start making their own decision if they want to follow daylight savings time, but they were trying to nationally pass it before they get in there.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing,
the right idea.
Start the politicians.
Start the politicians. You're damn right.
Things were moving better back when they barely made any money. So
and here's the thing: is crazy. The fact that they make a penny more than the median income, right? That's a crime. I don't even make the median income.
I was going to say, Reese is right about the daylight saving times. You never get enough people going along with it, because once they change it back, you got to do businesses work on, if it goes back or forward. So, if your store's going to close,
it's more about getting the message out, because you underestimate how lazy people are. And if you give them the option that they don't have to change their clocks anymore, they would opt into it.
Yep.
Right. But I think they would, but it's been so much a part of everyone's life for 90 years that I think that there are people that, if everybody who complained about it would just be screw it, I'm not doing this anymore. It's summer all year long. That's what I say.
Their plan is actually to Yeah, their plan is actually because technically, when we go forward in the summer, we move the clocks back. Arizona follows what's called standard time. So what happens is their plan is they're going to leave it on daylight savings time ahead an hour for all the time. They're not going to allow it to reset. They want to keep it forward by an hour, which is going to throw everybody's clocks off already as it is life cycle.
Yeah.
The
thing is, and the thing nowadays, 90% of people have stuff that does it for them. Like your phone automatically does it. Mm-hmm. Your VCRs or whatever. All your computers.
Yeah. So anyhow, let's get on to the comic stuff here.
So the topic that we were going to do, I was not the first person to sign in today, but I need to be over here. That feels better. Okay.
Oh, I don't care where I am. You just need to hop in earlier.
I know you don't. Anyway, bring back 2 sleeps. So,
sorry, my sleep apnea would kill that.
so Star says, what are we talking about? It's all a conspiracy for the candle companies.
That's great.
I agree.
Mrs. H is becoming like the female Jim Tuner, where she's right always. Everything she says is precisely right. No, Twitless is feeling under the weather. He might show up later. He might not. It does depends.
He was in the chat. He did say something in the chat earlier.
Just in time to force us to do terror tracks and then dip out immediately afterwards.
Probably. So anyway, our topic today is planning the future, right? And not just in terms of in comic book, but what do we want to do? I mean, all of us here, we make comics. We've been making comics for a while. And Baby Candle is lying to you. But yeah, so but what are we wanting to accomplish in this, both professionally and narratively? And I thought, I'm going to throw this out to the people that have come on the show, and I realized that almost exactly a month ago, we had this same group of people here to talk about Chuck and Rick's books.
Yeah.
So, how about that, huh? I didn't plan that or nothing. It just happened. It was organic. It grew out of the air.
I'm just always here.
Yeah, Twitless is always here now. I mean, not Twitless. Sorry, dude. Metal.
Twitless actually isn't here today.
Twitless isn't here today. But yeah, so that's the story. That's the topic. So, Rick, tell me, what's your end game? What's your plan for the future of Cross Comics?
Well, to create hopefully to create something hopefully as big as like DC or Marvel. As Metal knows, I've got like 7 major characters that I want to have their own books for. They're gonna, form a team, and then, I've got hundreds of other characters that I want to bring out, and after those 7, I'm gonna be introducing, in books, other heroes that are in the Crossverse, and see which one people like, and hopefully have them see whether they can come up with their own books or a group book for some of them or whatever, because I have all sorts of other groups planned besides my major Justice League or Avengers type one.
Cool. Yeah, I think I feel that a lot. I was always I got really inspired by the DC universe back in the early 90s is actually, and I just felt like that kind of an expansive world that feels lived in and feels cohesive to itself was something I always wanted to be part of. So I get that for sure. So how about you, Chuck? What do you guys? I know you guys have got some deep lore that you want to hammer out.
So for us, ironically, it never really started out us doing comics. Eric and I, we were doing film and video, and that's where we got our start in. We both actually met at a haunted house in dear God, 96 now. And God, I feel old. I'm turning 47 here next week. So, hey, it is what it is. But, we had a lot of comment, and we were like, hey, let's just do this whole, media thing. We have actually, we actually have a short film called, to tag the moving picture. Then we have some shorts on our YouTube channel and stuff like that. So we kind of been doing that off and on. And, we talked about how Eric did the original costume in 2005 from the idea we originally came up with in 96 of Sporkman. And Eric, kind of did his design of it. And, being asked to, hey, are you guys going to do a comic? We're like, well, that was something we kind of never really wanted to do. And here, never realizing we had this character that people loved as an idea. They wanted a comic of it. We're like, hey, let's do a one-off. And it just kind of grew out from there. And here we are 17 years later. And we're actually working on our 5th issue. And we hope to do more. Eric and I met last week, and we actually wrote out the story treatment for the rest of the story treatment for Spearhead, starting after this issue, and we're looking 4 to 5 issues just of Spearhead alone. And then we also have, I know Matt, you and I have talked about like where we're at with Sporkman. We have On the High Seas next, so we're going to intersperse between doing Spearhead and On the High Seas issue back and forth. Then we have our Justice League version of with Sporkman in the Justice League, his Justice League, where just basically they never get along, and you guys will get to meet Captain Tornado, who's a major dickhead, and yeah, so we just our plan is to keep doing this, as long as we can, and we're also news. We're starting. We're actually going to be doing radio dramas. So we're actually getting back into what we love, doing film and video and stuff like that. But we're going to be doing radio dramas. So to let you guys know, we might be pulling people from the community and stuff like that to guest star and stuff like that. That's both artwork and also doing stuff. So,
have I mentioned I'm a voice actor?
Hey, we're going to be doing it, so we can actually do everything remote and stuff like that. So that's the whole thing, because we're going to be doing all the Foley work. We'll just record everything across the internet, and we'll be taking our auditions as we go through, and we're just going to basically be kind of writing stories there. And it's a way to kind of take that whole thing. Sporkman really works in that kind of universe because he is that kind of classic superhero. And that's how Superman got popular, and the Shadow and all those characters. So why not take advantage of that medium? We could do it on YouTube. People can listen to it. So yeah, that's where we're at. So Matt, you're muted. Matt is muted.
Yeah, I knew that, but I couldn't find my screen. I had tabbed away from it, and I got lost in my windows I have open.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah, I was just like, I can't find my set way back. I was hoping you were going to talk for about another minute because I was putting together a Facebook post, but that's okay.
That's not a problem. But yeah, so I guess that could kind of lead us into Spearhead.
Yeah, that's a good segue. Let's go ahead and talk about that. The current project up there, which is more than half funded after 3 days.
Yep.
Which is
2 days. Yeah, it's actually, we're going into the 3rd day today, actually right now. So 2 days, we've got over halfway funded. So this is actually Spearhead is actually rolling out of this idea we originally had. We're talking about a month ago. We were talking about Sporkman. We had this idea, of having this little 5-page mini at the back of the comic, and it was kind of going to be an epilogue for Natsumi. And this was actually the project we were originally going to work with Namco on, which is Brian Ball's team. And unfortunately, logistically, we couldn't team up with them. Just kind of fell through there. But Eric and I said, hey, people love Natsumi. Let's just move forward with it. And we went back to our original group we worked with before, Array Studios. They got some new artists, so they were able to. And we're like, hey, we want to go full manga. Can you do it? They're like, yes, we can. We're like, good, let's do it. So we have a 20-page issue we wrote. So we have 5 pages done already with 3 covers. And we also have, so we need 15 more pages done. And so that's what basically the Kickstarter is for, is to get that funded so we can get the comic done and all the add-ons and stuff like that and get it into people's hands with this new series. And, so that way we can, keep doing this, because that's the thing is we wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for people like Rick, Metal, Matt, Neostar, people that have been with us, Mrs. H, people that have been supporting us all these years, because I wouldn't be keep doing this for 17 years. It's crazy. Matt, I know you agree. Doing this a long time, it's like, yeah, I love it. And so Spearhead basically is this new standalone adventure of Natsumi, and trust me, I love this character. She is just like, she's my waifu. Natsumi is my waifu 100%. She is a Nobles character. She is a hero of her own. She's smart, brilliant, and she is a scientist. She actually made the Super Mega Sportron from Goes to Japan, and she's going to be updating with the Mark II. You got conventions there. You want Japan, but yeah. So we're kicking off, and we're looking to raise $3,000, and that will get the comic completely funded and everything, and out to everybody.
I just happened to have it sitting right next to me. Is the only thing. Yeah. I didn't prepare for this or anything. I've got the one the trade of Japan back in the other room, but I didn't prepare. I just happened to have this sitting here in a stack of comics, so I had to bring it out. I'd like to not interrupt, not to take away. I'm going to, because that's the only way to do it. But I'm not meaning to take away from the Natsumi hype. I'm excited for that. But Nick has said that YouTube wouldn't show me you guys went live. I had to manually search for it. Am I a big enough presence on YouTube where they're taking views away from me?
I don't know, but I saw you easy enough.
It's just the subscription for YouTube is broken. That's all it is.
Yeah. So I think Nick, if you unsub and resub and select all, it'll reset it'll reset it there, so it'll go back to your suggested list again.
I agree. Because I don't get notification from you either, Matt. So I've had to do that a couple times. So once again, YouTube and its shenanigans.
Maybe. I'm just like, well, people tell me, and I don't necessarily think it's true, but people like specifically Marmaduke continuously tells me that the show's underappreciated, and I just think maybe we're on the same wavelength is all. Yeah. Well, anyway, but yeah. So, tell me, what was your motive? You've got a whole world full of Sporkman characters. Why did you decide to take Natsumi to make the first non-Sporkman book?
A lot of it came out of Japan. In all honesty, because we had a lot of world building with Japan, so we're like, well, we have this big world building. We already have kind of her backstory in a lot of ways, with her with the ADF, and we're like, okay, well, we just need to expand out what was her, like, how did she become to be, like, what's the story behind her and Reiko, because we had, like, little tidbits. I don't know if you guys remember in the scene in the comic, for those who've read it, like her and Natsumi saying to Reiko about her, Reiko stealing a boyfriend from Natsumi.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So there's little things like that where, like, okay, and it was also feedback from a lot of the community that a lot of people loved Natsumi as a character, because we made her, because, in all honesty, who doesn't love a kick-ass female?
Andrew Tate.
Okay, yeah. But in comics, in your media and stuff like that, I like a woman who can stand, do her things. So with Natsumi, it just sounded logically, we're like, we wanted to do this epilogue. We had this information from Japan. We're like, we plan on having Sporkman and her because they're going to be dating each other and stuff like that. That they are in a relationship. We're like, it's perfect for her. And it also expands our universe out because there's actually going to be a lot of things that tie into it. For instance, like Shogun Z actually ties into a later two issues where Sporkman saves the world and Sporkman returns to Japan. So we definitely, there's a lot of things that tie into future issues that are being built out. So we're like, well, why don't we build out that world more with Natsumi? And the fact, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't realize you weren't finished.
I was going to say, and it was just, that's what it naturally came out of. And once again, I love Natsumi, and it seems to be titles with female characters, lead female characters are doing very well. And people want that. People have been asking, it seems like from the indie community, people are like lead females that are awesome,
Yeah. People probably just like that she'll not sue you. Not sue me.
That was terrible, Rick, but I loved it. So,
that's about on par for Rick.
No problem, Taylor. Not a problem at all. So, I didn't drop the Taylor. If you wanted to jump in the chat in the talk, I didn't drop the visit link in the other chat like I meant to. That's on me. That's my fault. I'm the worst. But no, I do think there's a couple of interesting things about that. Is that there really is in the indie space right now, and I think it is echoed even in the big two, but there is such a huge growth in the super heroine characters who that are still intrinsically feminine and intrinsically vulnerable, but also like take no crap, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where like there is such a push. You go back to like even back to All New, All Different, and Marvel started really pushing this idea that we have to get female representation because we've never had that in comics. And those of us who've been reading comics since we were small is like, and now that we're neither small nor young, we say, no, that's not true. It's always been this way.
Like I'm thinking Storm, Rogue, Black Widow,
Catwoman, the original Huntress,
Supergirl,
Batgirl. Yeah. They're these characters that they were intrinsically feminine, and all the things that implies from a narrative perspective.
Let's take it one step further. You even have in other genres. Look at like Vampirella from Dynamite. You have Sonya, Red Sonja. So I think once again it comes back to, I think part of the problem was people just didn't. I think people were thinking. I think it's because they were upset. They were in cheese. They were cheese factor. It was all cheese factor. You know what I mean? The cheesecake factor.
The thing is, those aren't necessarily exclusive, right? I mean, that's one of the things that I think that what was the point of contention was that you're just reducing women down to their sexuality, and in cases like Barbed Wire, I suppose you're probably true, but that's how Pamela Anderson lived her entire life, so let's not be surprised about that. So that exists for a reason. Yes, I did, but not like that.
I was also going to say there's another character, from DC and Marvel that, a woman that was, really, I won't say heroic, but, from time to time she had her own stuff. Lois Lane, strong woman character, even in the Superman books.
I've always been annoyed whenever critical comic commentary comes out to talk about how Lois Lane is a symbol of like female oppression because she's just a symbol of a victim. I instantly want to get up and grab the lapels and shake them until their brain rattles inside of their skull and say, you obviously have never read a comic book in your life.
Yeah. Especially Superman. Have you ever read Lois Lane in the 70s?
Yeah, because I mean, like the whole point about Lois Lane is that like she's getting herself into trouble because she's bold and fearless and dogged, and there just is a limit to what the human, a non-superhuman, can endure, and Lois pushes against that all the time. Right? So,
well, and there's times like I've even said, like, if you got one of my favorite series, I'm a huge fan of dear God, All-Star Superman. And I don't know if you guys have ever read All-Star Superman.
I hate a little bit.
You hate it?
I hate it.
Oh, well,
I didn't hate all of it. I hated it as a whole. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Right? Like, so, like, it's like 12 issues, and like, and so like issue like I think like 4 and 5 that have like the Lois Superman date, and Atlas shows up, and like there's some really fun Silver Age silliness kind of stuff that goes on there. I appreciated a lot of that, but like, I feel that like, it is, it's the sum of the parts are less. I mean, like the whole is less than the sum of the parts.
Right.
Where,
right.
Like,
there was a lot of disjointedness in the series and stuff, but still, Lois Lane, if you know her from there, she still like pushed the envelope a lot of times in that series.
I cannot complain with how he handled Lois.
Yeah.
I don't care for how he handled Superman, which is sad because he's supposed to be the star.
Yeah, exactly. But still, you know, and that's the thing is, you know, so we'll go one step further. Like, you know, I grew up, you know, some of my favorite characters growing up, you know, I mean, I love He-Man and stuff like that, but there was Scarlet and Lady J from G.I. Joe, you know, She-Ra, watching She-Ra, you know, her every day getting off of school, watching He-Man and watching G.I. Joe. You know, you're watching, I would even see Scooby-Doo. When you had the original OG Scooby-Doo, you had, you know, the girls, you know,
and that's a great, Scooby-Doo is a great example because, like, there was no difference in the boldness between Freddy and Daphne. Like, they both had this alpha energy in their bravery behind it all, right? And there was no difference in the intelligence between Freddy and Velma, right? so those three are like a powerhouse of what they did, and I think they did a really good job of explaining that. I agree with Dominic.
I also think in the same vein as Scooby-Doo, Josie and the Pussycats is a good example, which you can even go back to comics because they were a comic first before they were a show.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
We do have an interesting discussion. We do have an interesting question. Oh, there we already have an answer in the chat. I was gonna. So never mind. You hadn't run around.
That's okay. Yeah, just to answer, guys. Yes, for those who just came in, we're planning on for a total of, with this one, there's 4 to 5 more issues after this. You know, so for a total of possibly 6 issues. You know, once again, it's all depending on how much money it will cost for us to do and where we're going to take breaks in the story and stuff like that. But as of right now, we're looking at about 4 to 5 extra issues on top of the promo series.
How fast it comes out depends on how much money you make.
Exactly.
Yeah, indeed. So one of the things I want to go back to the strong female character topic of conversation. One of my favorite, like I was not. When I got into comics, I got into like Batman, and I got into the Flash, and I got into like Spider-Man, Daredevil, that kind of stuff. So it wasn't until I was a little older that I went back, and from when I was a very small boy, and before I got into comics, watching the Super Friends on TV, that's, you know, the all that kind of stuff. Aquaman was one of my favorites, but I kind of had moved past the Aquaman phase of my life by the time I started reading regular comics. And then when I got a little older, I was like, I wonder what Aquaman's been up to, right? And I found the Peter David series, and I was just like, oh my God. I just fell in. And then I went back and I read a bunch of not quite everything, but a bunch of stuff from the Silver Age or whatever else. And one of the things that I became so impressed with, and what made Aquaman so cool to me as an adult, was the fact that they dealt with this Aquaman and Mera aspect, right? And so Mera is physically stronger than Aquaman, right? But she doesn't have the same it's not the same kind of courage, but she doesn't have the same like warriors. She has a worse temper, but she doesn't have the same kind of warrior mindset that Aquaman would have. And so they ended up having a thing where Aquaman was much better at some parts of ruling and kingship and thing. And then you had Mira, who ended up being a complementary. And even back in the 60s, when they were writing this predominantly for 7-year-old girls, because that was the market for the Aquaman book, they were dealing with complex relationship dynamics through the lens of a 7-year-old's underwater fantasy, right? And so they still had the situation where sometimes Mira would save Aquaman, and sometimes Aquaman would save Mira, and then they had a baby, and then that was they had this whole arc of the thing and tragedy and all that other kind of stuff. But Peter David and Dan Jurgens after him, they took all of these threads that had been woven through it, and they made this beautiful tapestry about getting old, right? Where really a lot of their stuff really is about coming back from trauma and growing up and setting into middle age and all the stuff that means. And I saw that's one of the things I love about that world is that it has this complex, mature attitude toward complementarianism, right? And so I think that's one of the things that we get in like you're looking at what you guys are doing, even the comedic take that Tonic Mole is doing with Saving the World, with what Tim and Mark are doing with Common America. They're presenting bold female heroes that they're brave and they are strong, but they're not flawless. But there's room for them to grow into these mature people. Yeah. And so you get to experience that. I think that's a fun aspect that's going on in the indies, in our little corner of the indie sphere. That is it's so funny to me because it's such a reaction, and I don't think it was intended to be a reaction, but it is a reaction to that commentariat, to the quote unquote feminist commentariat from the last 20 years, where it's like, no, that's not how you write a strong woman character. Let me show you how to write a strong woman character.
Well, and that's go ahead, Rick. I'll let you.
Well, I was going to say, heck, my last campaign, I introduced a female superhero. She's a woman that, has lost her whole life and then she's got to restart. So, her life, she ends up being a little bit vulnerable here and there, especially with the person that, sort of saved her, and yeah, you gotta, you can't rate these women that like they're can't do anything at all. They're just all about whatever, like they're doing today. Not sure how to say it.
The story being Mrs. H are working on our webcomic, Force of Good and Evil Senior Year. It's up on Webtoons. It's also we're printing it, doing a different format on forcegoodandevil.net. The story we're telling right now really focuses on the girls in these hero schools that we've focused on. From plotting the story, it's strange because a lot of these characters, some of them are going to be new characters, but a lot of these characters I created, when my children were small, and now my children are grown. So I have an almost a patriarchal opinion of these characters that I've been writing for so long. It's almost like seeing these. I'm waiting for these young men and young women to grow up and kind of foster them along as I also try to make their life miserable.
I've always been like I said, when I was a kid, watching those comics, and when I got into manga, so I grew up my first exposure to Japanese anime and manga, I grew up watching, of course, the Americanized version of Star Blazers, or technically Macross. Let's say what it is, but we'll call it what it is in America, Star Blazers. So watching that and watching Astro Boy and stuff like that. When I first actually physically got into watching anime, some of the early stuff I watched, Angel Cop, Ghost in the Shell, Tenchi Moyu. So these are all characters that had these flaws that, they were strong females, but they were flawed in every way. Like Angel Cop. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Angel Cop or not. This is a chick who basically she's badass, but she gets her ass kicked a lot of times when she turns around and she just holds her own. She's crawling off and she's got a busted arm and busted body, but she's doing what she can to save the day. And that's what I love. It doesn't matter. It's not. I think that's part of the problem is, and I hate power fantasies. Like I don't like OP. There's a time and place for everything. I always say, guys can be OP, girls can be OP. I like seeing a hero progress, being from there's flaws and stuff like that. Or there is mishaps that maybe mistakenly happen, but they don't instinctively cause it, like slipping on the banana peel and knocking down stuff. I like the hero and the heroine that actually have to use smarts to save the day,
And that's one thing, going back to classic, DC heroines, right? You look at the best Batgirl stories from before the Killing Joke, right? The best Batgirl stories were the ones where she had to outsmart the villain because she had to be smarter and craftier and better prepared because the writers were dealing with the fact that she's handicapped, right, by just being smaller and physically weaker than the Killer Moth,
Yes.
So, although the Killer Moth is an interesting character because he's both ridiculous.
But but then when she was crippled, you saw that as Oracle, she was using her mind to be. And I always said, to me, I always liked Babs as Oracle than Batgirl. Don't get me wrong, I loved her as Batgirl. I thought she was better as Oracle because to me, that showed how in Judy and outsmart that Bruce needed. She was the brains of the whole outfit, in terms of Batman, Robin, and everything. Even though Bruce was so smart, I think Oracle was much smarter than Bruce. She was what Bruce needed, that brains and smarts and stuff like that.
Well,
go.
I think she was smart in a different way. She was more focused too. Than him, where he did it in a wide way. She narrowed, to the internet, and
Well, yeah, and I think that part of it is Bruce is so close to the action. So seeing all the big pieces, I think it did a good complementarian thing. Again, you're playing to different types of character strengths, so that they're in, so that the Batman family is unlike All-Star Superman. Is the whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
Yeah. And then not only did she become as Oracle a help to just the Bat family, but all superheroes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I think one of the other great things that I love about what they did with Oracle is it really shows that a good, thoughtful writer can fix a careless action of another callous writer, because the intention was not to create Oracle. That's Ostrander in the pages of Suicide Squad said, that what I can do better than Alan Moore, and he did.
And then
Alan Moore was great at breaking things, and Ostrander is great at building things.
And I believe Ostrander also created the Calculator, which became, her greatest nemesis. He was a great complementary villain to who Oracle was. So there is, So and that's the whole thing, and we're kind of get back to the Spearhead. That's what we're also doing with Natsumi. Reiko is that foil for Natsumi. She's that villain that Natsumi needs. Along with Shogunzi, he's there, but Natsumi or Reiko is that villain that Natsumi needs to become that better heroine. Even though she's already there, this is just her journey into that role. So. And that's the thing is, she just, for me, she is as a character, everything that I've loved between all the different animes, like Oh My Goddess, and just all, she's just basically like the sum of everything that I like from all these different anime and manga. And I'm like, I gotta, and that's one of the things is, we're still doing that. We're keeping the spork themes, homaging anime and manga. We're keeping those elements in there because we did a lot with the playing on the humor in Sporkman Goes to Japan, whereas in this one we are actually kind of focusing more on it is homaging, those tropes, but we're doing it in like, hey, we're gonna give that nod to Ghost in the Shell, that nod to you're under arrest. You're in a lot of different anime and manga and stuff like that. Your basic, and we're gonna make our own unique spin on it. With the spear and how Natsumi gets her powers and stuff like that. And Reiko is going to serve. She is going to be a major part in the whole thing. The whole series and stuff like that. So,
and I'm really glad to hear you thinking about the arch nemesis idea, that the perfect opposite, because I think too often in indie books, and I mean that goes all the way back, and I'm using the term indie very broadly just to mean not Marvel or DC,
right?
Because I mean Image isn't really an indie publisher, but they had a lot of the same kind of problems in their beginning. But the thing is about that people spend, I think, a lot of time thinking about their hero and not thinking about how to challenge them. And I think that's a situation that current day, or at least, current day and back 5 or 10 years, Marvel and DC were missing out on the idea of creating challenges that are intrinsic to the characters. And so I think that's one of the reasons why newer heroes aren't sticking as well, is that they're not, a lot of them haven't been given a lot of thought to what opposition are they going to face.
And the thing is, like, what's going to end up happening is there is actually another villain on top of the whole. It's between Reiko and Natsumi. This villain, his name is called the Technocrat. And the Technocrat, the whole idea is, how much control are we giving to AI and technology, and what issues it can cause if it becomes alive? I'm just going to stop there. So it's going to face a lot of ramifications and stuff like that. But we already have. I mean, the story is going to be. There is also a redemption arc in this. I will say that for Reiko. So although she starts out as the enemy, she becomes she becomes a heroine in her own right. It's not just Natsumi's journey; it is also the journey of Reiko across these issues. So, but we're taking that. We're kind of like how Josh Howard did with T-Bird and Throttle. How he did his redemption arc. Yeah. We're kind of doing the same thing. We always loved Reiko too, and we're like, well, here's our chance to kind of make her a better character and stuff like that. So this isn't just a story of Natsumi. It's a story of Shogun Z, of Reiko, of ADF. So it's like a huge. Now you're going to see why it's 4 to 5 issues. Because we got a lot planned.
Also, pointing out Howard's T-Bird Throttle. That is one of the best comics of the last 20 years.
I would say it's probably. I would agree, because the thing is, you take that trope of the deconstruction of a hero and you're rebuilding the hero. Too many times, nowadays, nobody does that anymore. And
the beauty in what he does is he starts reconstruction, and he completes the deconstruction and begins the reconstruction within the first volume.
Yep.
So you're just like, it's not. So you have to bring him to the point where he's broken, and he's there, but he's also like starting to find the will and starting to what does it take to rebuild my life? And you're in it already.
Yep.
Boom. It was right.
and that's kind of like, and I know you guys saw what we did with Sporkman. We kind of took him as he's already the hero. Who cares about the origin story? We want to see him in action as Sporkman and stuff like that. And that's the same thing. And that's what I think Josh did with T-Bird and Throttle. You were excited because you're right there. You know what I mean? You're right into the action right away. Both the positive, the negative aspect of it, and the positive aspect of him. You know,
definitely. So,
although in amongst the story, you do get the origin story too.
Yes, you do. You do. Exactly. So yeah, really, and here is just so you guys see, this is actually a redesigned Reiko from Japan. You know, we actually kind of went back and we redesigned her a little bit more. While we liked it, we kind of wanted her a little bit different. She still has the same kind of hairstyle and stuff like that, so you know it's definitely her 100%. So, you know, but really, yeah. So that's where we are, and so I don't know if you wanted to go.
If you were going to go ahead and pick out one perk that you wanted to suggest to get people on board with Natsumi, which one would you suggest?
Illustrator Monk. Here's why. Because that cover, that Monk, and it's not done yet. This is just the inks. Just to let you guys know. This is just the inks. This is not the actual finished thing. Wait till you see it's done. So, I know you guys know the stuff that Monk has done on Saving the World and like a lot of his other stuff. I'm telling you, that's where you want to get on board. Yes, it's a little bit more expensive. People are wondering, why are you charging $25? One, it's because, you know, the cost to get Monk to do the cover. So, you know, unfortunately, yes, we do have to charge a higher price for it, you know, versus the other variant covers and stuff like that. But, you know, we do actually have, besides that, if you guys want to, you know, $10, you can get the entry level one, because our primary cover is a good one too. I love our original cover. You guys don't have a lot of money to spend, get the $10 tier. You get the print and the digital version.
Well, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Then
I gotta say, I went with the standard cover because I am pumpkin spice latte of comic backing.
Yeah, so if you can't afford the Illustrator Monk, grab the. Here's the other thing too, because if you do it separately, one reason why we did $10, because if you get the comic separately, the comic print separately is $7. If you get the digital, it's $4. If you get the print and digital at $10, you're saving yourself $1.
Actually, me, I'd be saving more than $1.
But yeah, and I will say also, I do got to give a shout out to Dylan. He definitely did a great cover for our cheesecake cover. You know, having the sexy Natsumi, really using the Fudoshi look for giving her that semi-Japanese, you know, element, you know, with the Fudoshi and her at the beach and stuff. So I definitely love it. That's $15. But, you know, I think every tier we have is a great tier. I'm just sorry. Just me. I think we have a great product. I think you guys are going to love what we have planned for Spearhead. I think, you know, we have a lot done. We do have a definite finish point. But once again, we can't get to anywhere unless we get through this one. And we need everybody to back us as much as possible.
This is really spearheading your comics.
Yes, it is. You know,
if there's a pun, I will find it.
Or you won't, and just force one in anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, that too.
So yeah.
Well, we rotating just a little bit off of the topic of Spearhead. Metal. We have not talked to you about what does the future mean for your comics? I'm not going to sit here and pretend I've read all of them, because I haven't.
The near
future, a couple,
is very, very indecisive, and that's because of things that have happened recently. As a lot of people are familiar with, the hard drive that was holding literally all of my project files
what happened?
actually sitting right behind me. It got fried. I'm going to have to seek data recovery to get them, and that's going to cost quite a pretty penny. So I'm trying to find other things to work on. Luckily, I don't have the full 600 DPI version, but it's big enough that I could print it. I do have the 2-page spread that I had just finished before it fried, and I can go and make the cover and do the print version of the whole Mitch and Sandy story that I was working on. But I might actually just transition temporarily into starting their story because I don't have access to my webcomic files.
Well, you still have the stuff that you had for Amazon, right? To get it printed up or whatever, that people can just go buy your stuff on Amazon. Some of your books.
The only thing really on Amazon is I mean, there's digital versions, but it's the actual novel is on Amazon. Everything else is to get physical. You have to go through Indie Planet right now.
Okay, well, I didn't know which place, but
They
you know,
have
there's
the files. Can you get it from them?
Yeah, you can.
Maybe because they I would have given them TIF files,
Right.
which would have all of the information there. Because really, the big thing that I'm missing is I could start new color palettes and stuff in the next chapter. That's no problem. But I'm like 3 or 4 pages from the end of the current chapter, and I don't want to like accidentally make the colors dramatically different than the rest of the chapter, right?
Yeah.
But the palettes are kind of identical to the chapter before that. So if I could get the files from them, I could probably figure out what I'm doing.
So you should
that might
be
be worth a phone call or an email.
Yeah, I might see.
Metal, you should be able to go into their section where they actually have your profile and stuff like that. If you go in there, you should be able to see where you submitted the files. They generally will have a folder with the TIFF files in there.
I should go and check that. That might actually be able to get me back on the main webcomic.
Yeah,
because I was like really about to get back into the swing of things. I was going to I'm inking pages and stuff. I was going to start putting things back up on the site again after a bit of a hiatus, and then immediately that happened.
Yeah, of course. Murphy's Law, right?
Which is why I always have 3 backups of everything. Sorry, there's just me, and then I give a copy to Eric.
Was the backup, but before I could set up another one, I was running out of room on my computer because I just have too many programs that I use for things now on the small SSD that comes with the computer. So I was moving things off, and then literally the day after I moved it, that happened. Before I set up any of my backups and stuff, it was like it was the worst timing in the world. And
that's usually how it goes.
Well, I was more asking that way, maybe people to support you, and so maybe to get the money to, buy that, get help with getting
you
that
could
data
totally buy my stuff to help me be able to afford my data recovery. That would be great.
On Indie Planet or Amazon.
Yeah.
So
yep.
Or you could also find the links to them on xdynamuschaos.com. I have a store page that doesn't actually let you buy anything from it, but it does hyperlink to where you can buy any of the products. So, but I got other things in the work too. Like I do want to get back to working on Realms and Relic. I have idea of what I'm doing with the next chapter of that. I've been wanting to get to the actual first chapter of the Mitch and Sandy story. And just because it's been sitting in my head for quite a while, and it's going to have kind of it's going to be more of like a graphic novel in pacing. So maybe not that much happens in the first chapter, but it's being written in like sets of 5 chapters, and I've got all kinds of things like you, Chuck, you mentioned a radio play before. I've been sitting on a nearly finished radio play script for 3 years now that I've been meaning to finish. It's like I just have to finish the last scene and then get some people to record it for a story that takes place back in the post-transcontinental period in San Francisco. That's kind of like a crime drama, a very low pulpy about an illusionist that fights crime in that area during that time, called the Skull Spectre. I've got a few projects that are like sitting there to be worked on. I just actually have to work on, and it is tough when you're like a one-man army and have like nobody else helping you work on stuff.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yep.
So we have been joined by Twitless. Are you live?
Apparently.
Oh,
hey, Matt, if you don't mind, I'm gonna dip out here.
Cool, man. Thanks for coming on. Hey, guys in the chat, if you haven't backed Spearhead yet, do yourself a favor, put down for some fun comics.
Appreciate it. And as you guys can follow me everywhere at Sporkman Studios if you're not following me already. So, and I'll paste that link there in for the Indiegogo in the chat and everything. So thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Sweet.
Good to see you, Spork.
Yeah.
Later.
Later.
Apparently, me coming on was enough to chase away Sparkman.
he had announced when we started that
kidding,
he
I'm
only had
kidding.
about an hour. So, and he was here an hour and a quarter. So
I'm just playing.
Well,
He
you're
didn't
not
want to get
allowed.
sick. He didn't want to catch it
Yeah.
over the internet.
Yeah,
You're not allowed to play. That's been banned.
Oh, actually, another project got kind of like stopped in the middle of it too. Just unrelated circumstances. I was dubbing the first chapter of X Dynamis Chaos page by page as shorts on YouTube, which I'll give people the link to that channel as well. Just got the handle for it, which makes it so much easier to share channels now that we have handles. But the problem was I was going through and I hit page 12 and one of Sentry's lines was missing. And I sent him a message like a week ago. And I don't even know if he's seen it because he's really bad at getting back to people. So I have no idea when I'll get that line back to be able to continue dubbing. I'm just kind of like sitting in limbo. I was like, man, every single thing I work on, there has to be some dead end somewhere.
So, yeah, I feel that. So, Twitless, I see you're wearing a pilgrim hat.
That is correct.
So, is that something you've had for a while, or did you put that on new?
I just whipped that up. Yeah, I've been getting into the spirit of like doing little like holiday avatars.
Yeah. Well, and I noticed that like your zombie face is gone, but you mentioned you were feeling ill, so I wondered if you might keep it for another week.
Keep away from No, I have to get as much usage as possible out of the Thanksgiving one because by golly, they almost want to pretend Thanksgiving doesn't exist anymore. They jump straight from before Halloween to starting the Christmas songs.
Now, we already talked about this in the first half hour, so we're going to have to skip past you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just saying my birthday falls on Halloween, so you all can give thanks for me on Thanksgiving. I am the Thanksgiving blessing.
So wait,
it didn't go to my head at all.
Your birthday is Halloween?
No, my birthday falls on Thanksgiving.
Oh,
you said Halloween at first.
Oh, yeah.
No, I said falls on. It probably sounds like Halloween, whatever. So my birthday falls on Thanksgiving, and
this year.
I don't. So okay. So I have to actually say this. So like my birthday sometimes falls on Thanksgiving because of how Thanksgiving technically works.
That's what. So my wife's birthday is never. Her birthday's near there, and she won't really tell you when, but it never falls on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, like
you don't know when your wife's birthday is?
No, she doesn't know. But
yeah, every couple of years I get it. Yeah.
Mathematically, it's impossible. Like that's just how it shakes out. Like just the way it never happens. I mean, not like in a way like, oh yeah, her birthday's in like May or something.
But it's just the leap year always pushes it past the day every single time. Yeah.
Exactly. And then it resets again, so
every couple of years. So you'd think it would be really cool. Oh, my birthday's on Thanksgiving, and like I said, it's really great for my ego. But aside from that, like when it comes to like getting presents and stuff, everyone's like, we'll just wait till Black Friday. Stuff's on sale. So like, it's kind of an afterthought.
So Abigail says you need a longer beard for the Thanksgiving hat.
Oh, do I? Okay. Or no beard at all for the Puritan kind of look.
There you go. Well, yeah. Depends on the Puritans, probably. Matt, how's it going?
Hey, howdy. Yeah. Long time no talk.
It has been.
Yeah. And hey, chat.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So
cool show tonight.
Yeah, I woke up in some sort of fever the other day, and I'm like, that's what I need to do. I was like, I can't remember. But the thing is like all of my days are running together because of like school stuff. So I've been I don't know, I can't remember if it was late Monday or early Tuesday or I don't know. I've been I've been going to sleep kind of early for me and then waking up at like 4 a.m. and doing homework until I go to work in the morning and then coming home. So I'm in some sort of limbo of time and space.
Well, let me since this is the call-in section, let me do my one thing I'm here to do because I wanted to do this live and chat. Okay. Let us know what you think about this. But I have a pitch for you.
Okay.
Because basically, Twitless and I were talking just earlier today, and immediately I thought, like Matt Reese is already in the zone, and we're kind of like catching up to him on something like this in terms of what you've done and what you're interested in. But what do you think about zines?
I love zines. I have been trying to figure out how to turn zines into like something. The problem is like zines are amazing, but the problem is like you've got to have the right marketplace for zines, right?
Yeah.
And so where I live, like in Scotts Bluff, like nobody has the faintest clue about anything like that. And
okay,
down
well,
in
so
that's
hear this
like
out. So like
non-starter here, but
yeah,
and there's
but like online, now. So the cool thing is about zines is that I kind of feel like what we do here in all these live streams, it's kind of like audio zines. So I feel like the chat is already kind of interested in that like lo-fi sort of off the cuff behavior, creative behavior. And so okay, so what if you had a PO box? People mailed a like an envelope in 2 stamps or something to this PO box, and then they got in return like a week later they got a zine, and we did like some sort of mishmash, like scrum together cool idea, like maybe it's just like pen and ink on paper and Xeroxed, if that's even possible, like short, like 1-page stories and like really cool unique interviews, like I don't know, but just like really
I
fun.
have always wanted to be in a magazine.
I
That's actually
absolutely
something I wanted to be since like I was 5.
And it would cost super. It cannot be expensive. It cannot be crowdfunded, or that would violate the lo-fi nature of the zine. It has to feel like it's not professionally done. This is not colored comics. You know what I mean? Unless you're breaking out your markers and
So hang on a second. I'll be right back.
Yep.
Let me chase him away. He's probably running to grab a zine.
How was that pitch, Twitless? I know you could do it better than I could, but I'm trying to get the feeling across at least.
Yeah,
you can articulate it.
You're the artistic force, so like it needs to be pitched.
I also
it needs to be pitched
excel
from
in
your
like
corner.
lo-fi artwork.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, I've always wanted to do like I just want to draw a comic, straight like on the page, just on a piece of paper, like printer paper, all the way, including lettering and everything. I haven't done that since like 5th grade.
I do the coloring and lettering digital now, but I still do all of my pencils and inks like straight onto the paper. I don't even use more than one piece of paper. I will erase the pencils underneath the inks because I don't care.
So I don't want to miss chat here. So Dominic Powell has a great question. We are going to get to that, Dominic. What are your thoughts and hopes for the future of entertainment and culture as things are finally swinging back to the middle, even if it's a slow burn? Abigail says Matt C lives.
Good question.
And we had a club for making zines in college. A star storyteller says, "Hey, talk later. I might get a page out for you."
Hey, Star.
Deli Cake says zines are cool. There's definitely some response here for the zine angle.
Oh, good.
I think, yeah. And like I said, some of the pitch I had for zines, I immediately started brainstorming. I threw a whole bunch of stuff at Matt. But I'm thinking like some raw interviews, like questions that like would be like almost borderline uncomfortable that you wouldn't necessarily ask on a live stream. But it's like, so the idea.
Oh yeah, I love that.
The idea that like when you get the zine, the idea is you're gonna get something that you can only get through mailing a post office box, that kind of thing.
Okay, so
see, look, ink on paper. This is literally how I still do my stuff.
There we go.
So
that's beautiful, but that might be too professional.
Oh no, that might make it worse.
That might be too clean.
Metal's like I
don't know about those spot blacks. Like,
so right here, these are
ballpoint pen
zine size coloring books that
I remember those. Yeah, okay.
And Twitless,
I
sent him some, and Marm's got some from coming down for the minicon too, that are there, and they're just little. Wow. These were done just like a coloring book. That's actually what this is intended to be. And this is a story featuring our Golden Age hero Al Jin. but it's just like this little 8-page photocopied photo. It's just the inside, the outside's colored, is color cover. It's done with a color laser, and the inside is just photocopy paper. And that's I mean, this, you know, we can sell this for $1 because it's like costs like, you know, 32 cents to make.
Yep.
Then we also have some mini comics that are just like half-page deals. So it's a 8.5 by 11 page. This fits in there, printed
Almost
the same
like
way.
an ash can.
But this, yeah, it's exactly that's exactly what this is intended to be, is like an ash can. And we actually this is colored. This is on colored paper, right? So it looks, it's supposed to look really weathered because it's supposed to be this is a
it's got like a patina to it almost.
Yeah, but it's just colored paper. It's just brown colored paper.
Just some yellow paper. That's nice.
Yep.
Smart.
So it looks pre-yellowed. So
you're already operating at the
Imagine this, but less
very
black.
like that's top shelf. Oh, that's nice.
Great.
Yeah.
So
that's the first page of X Dynamis Chaos. That's how I was doing it. So it's like I could just do that, but less black.
I was just joking. I mean, you can put as much black. You can make the whole thing black.
So we got Herman P. Hunter from the Lore Forge is in chat. Good to see you. Here's one thing that I want to bring to the zine thing, and this is going to feel really weird because the reference I'm going to drop is not really zine. It's more like New Yorker. But did anyone ever read Cricket magazine growing up?
No. I was aware of it, but I never read it.
So, like, what's really interesting is they had these little comics in there. They'd usually be like a page or so, but sometimes they would do like in the margins of like the short stories and stuff. They would have like little like mini comics that would like lead up to the main one. And so basically you were constantly reading the margins of things to like get like the full story. And so like the idea that you can that's what I want to bring to the zine idea is like we use the margins and do like just the micro comics essentially, where you can like follow like a storyline that someone's just drawing in margin space.
Okay, here's something that's gonna I gotta find it, but this is gonna rock your head a little bit once I get it.
That does sound fun though. Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah, and I'm like, it'd be perfect for zine for zine.
Like we could draw, like we get access to each other's pages, and we can kind of graffiti into each other's pages.
Yeah, it's graffiti stuff. Yeah.
So here's Doug TenNaples' Gear, right? This is the graphic novel that became Cat Scratch, right? The characters from Gear became the characters from Cat Scratch. The setups are different, the worlds are different, but you see here right on the edge, you've got this little action going on the margins.
Oh, good for him.
And they actually tell a story of what's going on when these other things are going on, and it leads up to a place where
I'm so jealous. That's
in 2 pages. I think it's more than 2. It's several pages.
Of course, Doug would always be ahead of us.
The elements collide.
Well, yeah.
Between the
Cricket magazine did it first. Cricket magazine did it first.
This has been around.
and Sergio Aragonés did it in Mad Magazine and in his stuff.
Yeah,
in
the
the
total
Spanish
Mad
press.
Magazine too, right?
Yeah. I mean there was elements of that got used in Crazy Cat, stuff like that too. So I mean, it's got a long tradition of stuff.
Well, like
the idea, like Matt was talking about, like
Walt Kelly kind of did it in Pogo, but he'd do it like in the backgrounds with like the little fleas and insects, and they'd be basically having a B story while the main story is happening. But like
so exciting.
Well, and the fun thing was, it wasn't just that there's the thing I loved about what Doug did in Gear, and it's just right up here, so I had to show y'all. Is that the A story and the B story intersect at one point. So and that's not something that I'd quite seen before. I've seen it since then and before, but that's something I've seen the margin stories a bunch. Like I said, Sergio Aragonés, and even in Gru, the Wanderer had a bunch of margin stories, but they didn't always cross over into the main story. Or they'd be like, one of the margin stories would, like, one of the margin characters would like throw a banana peel, and that was what Gru would slip on, or something like that. But it wasn't
fun.
But it wasn't necessarily that we're actually having major narrative elements showing up between them.
All right, the next thing we got to do is the back cover has to be the metal has to draw a accordion illustration or whatever those things were called that Mad Magazine always had, or be some like lewd thing that came together when you like pasted the corner A to corner B or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The folding.
Those were always fun. It'd be like a weird, like grotesque face or something of like Bill Clinton or.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that I think that I've loved the idea of incorporating comics and zines and looking at different ways of getting comics out is just that kind of the lo-fi-ness, the punk rock aspect of all of that I think is that I think there's a real appeal to that. And I've been, I mean, that's why, like, I don't know if you guys are following, because I think that there's a place for narrative crossover, right? So one of the things that I've always loved is the idea of a really faithful, like, cross genre storytelling. And I've talked about this before, but like how Grosse Pointe Blank is both like a comedy about growing up and getting old and realizing you've left your life behind you. So it's that sappy 80s John Hughes film kind of thing, but it's also a real crime like thriller story, right? Where John Cusack's character is really involved in real action, fighting off real assassins. Meanwhile, he's also mooning about how he left his high school girl behind because he couldn't deal with his dad anymore. And and he came back to his high school reunion, and everyone had grown. Life went on for everybody, and so he gets really conflicted about that. And then Dan Aykroyd tries to kill him. So,
what movie is this?
It's called Grosse Pointe Blank.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But yeah, I liked it. But I love those things. But it's so, in order to be a really good cross genre story, it's got to be fully both things. It's got to commit to whatever bit it's doing, right? You can't have if you're doing a superhero romance story, you can't not have a superhero story and just have hearts and flowers and rose petals on the bed, right? You've got to be able to, for it to be both things, for that kind of thing to work.
Yeah, you gotta satisfy both expectations,
both sets of expectations, right? And so
sets of expectations.
Right now on idealcomics.net, we are publishing on our main page a series of comic strips that my son and I worked on, called Grab It, about a fuzzy, cute cartoon rabbit superhero. And so I'm really trying to play in that space as a 3-panel comic strip. Where it's action superhero stories that aren't the stakes are as serious as you get in 3 panels, right? With a funny animal cartoon, very G-rated hero, in that kind of thing. And we did 7 strips. I think 3 of them are up. No, I can't remember if it's 2 or 3 of them are up right now. But they're set up to throughout the month of November and into December. They're going to be published every Monday. So people check that out. See if you think I pulled it off.
Yeah.
But I think that I think that the idea of having, getting your postcard comic from whoever mailed directly to you for the price of, a set of stamps and $1 or whatever. That'd be hella cool.
Yeah, I love the idea. Like, you just pay for shipping, but you have to invest too. So you have to send something. You have to engage in that physical exchange. So you send us an envelope with a couple stamps, and then we stuff that, we fold up, we staple and fold up a zine and stuff it back into that envelope and mail that to you. And then we're good, because all it took is some printer paper to print it out,
Well, and one of the
I'd love
things,
to do that, but
I definitely be down for that. One of the things
great. We'll pick like a month or something. I don't know. It depends. I mean, we don't want to overthink it. Could just be a week of whenever schedules
well,
align.
I mean, the thing is, I mean, honestly, if we just had a product or several products that across the space of people that are interested in doing something like that, that we could put together, and then we just say, everybody makes an announcement that like for, hey, May is zine month, and send out some stamps to these creators and get yourself some exclusive content.
Oh, what a great idea. Yeah, just announce it like this is the month, and it's not like it's not what we're doing, it's what everyone's doing.
Yeah. So
oh my gosh, how fun would that be? You're going to be sending out so many envelopes to so many different people.
Now, one thing that
oh my gosh,
one thing in relation to that whole space I want to go back to. Do you guys remember the hullabaloo over the Stealing Solo project that happened a few years ago?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
sort of.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I will tell a story because I love stories. So a fellow who was a Star Wars fan who felt he had been jilted by Disney decided to write a revenge comic, basically that involves kidnapping and accidentally killing Harrison Ford. Thank you, goodness sakes. And it's called, I believe, is actually killing him. But anyway, it's called Stealing Solo, and it's a pastiche of fan gripes about the sequel trilogy, right? And the folks that put it together hired a dude and his girl or whatever, and they hired an artist, and they were really behind on schedule, and then they finally shipped it out, and the person that did the shipping, or the company that hired to do the shipping,
was terrible.
Well, it was like an ad mailer company who their business is printing up circulars and shipping them across the country, and just like your Home Depot circular or your Dollar Tree circular that you get in the post, where it's just a newsprint magazine with your address on the back of it, like held together with a piece of tape and popped in the post, right? And the problem was they charged people like $15 for shipping, right? If that had been, I said at the time,
that's my bugbear. Never overcharge for shipping.
Well, I said and I said at the time, I said, man, if that had been the pitch, if they're like, no, you're getting,
right,
you're getting a down and dirty fan, a grindhouse comic book, it's coming to you.
We're slapping a sticker on the back.
That's a great angle, Matt. You're right.
And it's
not that it was bad. It's just that it misaligned with reader expectations for this, particularly for that price.
Especially in the circle that they were going for, and they were late on the thing, and there had been a whole fudge about.
Yeah, that's true.
Did they spend the money before the product was finished? There was all these rumors going around, but
yeah, there wasn't a lot of transparency about production. Yeah.
But if they would have just said, no, you're getting a grindhouse comic, and we're selling it to you. I mean, you're paying for production. We're hiring the best, or if they did that or whatever. But if they were selling a comic, just a down and dirty, and I said, man, I wish I had the resources to put this together, because I would love to do just like that book, right? And the thing is, it's about the presentations. It's got to be the right story, right? So, I'm not sure that I have a story that is ready for that kind of.
For something like that, it would sound like.
I know you can. You can find something.
You need to do some sort of newspaper type comic.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's got to be something that's got that pulp feel to it, right? So, if you were
hold on, let me interject there. So, I disagree slightly. I think that all you need to do is embrace the aesthetic. You don't need to put too much pressure on this. Like, if you remember
it's not a genre thing, yeah.
Like, you guys know, I mean, like Spider-Man still has a newspaper comic. You know what I mean? So people are able to take Spider-Man and make him fit into a news strip register. So all you need to do is essentially take something you currently have and just be like, this is the Ashcan zine version, and it's maybe not canonical or whatever, but it's just I'm using the same characters, but I'm doing it in a completely different style for this, and it's just for fun, and it's additional content only you can get if you mail this address. Also, we've included a bunch of other. One format I whipped up something that we could potentially do where we're able to tap into some of the underground energy, in a slightly positive way, where like this could be a chance for us to reach out to some of the industry professionals who are working in the independent space and be like, all right, give us I'll send you a copy of my comic. You only need to read would you mind reading the first 4 pages and give me a 2-sentence review? You know what I mean? As opposed to like, because like a lot of these big guys, right? They have channels, and when people try to get on, it's like, oh, can I take control of your channel and get like you to like, back my book? And then they get really selective about it. But if I call up, Doug Tenable or Ethan Van Sciver even, and I say, hey, can you take a look at my comic for 5 minutes, say 2 sentences, and you can say whatever, it's going to go in a zine. Like, it might be a chance for us to reach out to some of the bigger names and let them just like, you know what I mean? Like, to cross that bridge. Because right now, the big guys are getting kind of, in my opinion, they're getting a little ossified in their ivory towers in the indie scene, which is weird. And so, like, as a zine, I mean,
isn't that weird?
Like Matt and I were talking about the whole Image situation.
That's
really
true.
wild.
Yeah,
I love it.
I mean,
Matt, can we just highlight that moment? That's so cool. Like, I know I've evolved a lot. I had some pretty hot I had some undercooked takes in like 2019, 2020 about what indie necessarily meant. There is a space for indie comics to actually just mean anything except the big two. Yeah. But I like what you said about Image.
Yeah.
So it's funny. We're on the same page now. That's funny.
The thing is, like, they're independently owned, but they're also a huge corporate structure that like moves them along.
Are they really closer to us than to Marvel and DC? I don't know.
No. If I'm being honest, I don't think we should be too unfair to Image, because they're still one of the only companies you can actually still send pitches to. Like Marvel is completely. Marvel used to have, hey, Marvel's completely shut down. Like, if you go to like submissions, they say no, we'll find you. Don't even bother. Image and actually.
They've been that way for a while.
They've gotten even, I think, progressively even less so. Like, I think there was a point, I think, as an artist, you could maybe send a portfolio. As a writer right now, they just say like, absolutely not. Basically, they say go network. But like, Image still lets you, hey, submit a comic pitch idea. You can still, like, if there's still an opportunity there to like get. So I don't think Image is in the same class as Marvel or DC, just partially because there still is an opportunity for independent people.
Can we just appreciate the kumbaya for a minute? You're already throwing.
I wouldn't call it independent.
The apple cart.
Yeah,
this took like 3 years for Reese and I to agree.
Yeah, Oni Press is like that too. It's just creator owned.
Yeah, and I would say,
oh really? Oni?
And Oni Press is owned by a conglomerate now, anyway. But because they got bought up. But like Image is like they're their own thing, and you can as a creator, because it's creator owned. You can be a small time creator who is making nothing on their comic and is barely getting into shops because it's getting no promotion from Image, but Image is publishing your book. And you have an indie book coming from Image. Savage Dragon is not an indie title. Freaking Spawn, not an indie title.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah, those guys are they're as mainstream as you can get. And that's not saying anything about the quality.
It's kind of an indie title.
No, because
no.
Neil Gaiman owns the Star.
I mean, legally,
Neil Gaiman owns the Sandman characters he created. It's creator owned, but it's not indie.
Yeah, Star Wars was an indie film franchise until 6 years ago. I like to point that out because it's kind of cool, but it's as mainstream as you can get too, and it's not.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like Image ends up they end up in what we call a liminal space. they're not.
That's all right. That's okay.
They're not.
There's a lot of that.
Fine, sure. I'll give you that one. Well, I will stop fighting you about this.
Yeah. Well, I just
it's definitely
maybe there's like.
That's why I like the word creator owned as opposed to just independent.
Yeah, or self-published or something. Just go out. Just put your balls on the table and say, no one's even publishing me except me. It's not just independent, like indie, but really someone is getting 97% of my profits.
indie is kind of like is part of a life cycle where you end up becoming mainstream if you become successful anyway, right? Like if we're an indie garage band, suddenly like we become popular, and there's a certain point,
and that's a that's a dimension to the definition.
Well, definitely, and I think like you look at the White Stripes, right? Like so, Jack White never sold, all the rights to his stuff, right? He created his own stuff. He still, took his profits, turned them into his own studio, third man studio. So it's like he's doing all of the stuff except distribution himself, but they are still totally mainstream. So,
because if the culture.
Every new project he makes starts being an indie project, and then by the second album, it's not.
And part of that's the culture too, right? Because if it gets wide acceptance in the mainstream culture, it becomes mainstream, even if it's like, hey, I'm an independent guy. I started off and whatever. Yeah. Anyway, so
it's cool how elastic these terms are.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, well, I would say you could argue that, DC and that are indie because of how they started off, just small, one or two.
Well, no, yeah, DC started as a money laundering scheme, but
this is so fun.
So Marvel and DC, I don't think you can call them indie. I think that's a harder sell because they were basically
I think you also have to understand that there's this thing called temporal movement, right? Time goes on. So there are a lot of things that were indie that in their current state are not.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm just saying
that's like when Image started, when you had the 5 studios, Spawn was a ridiculous out of the park hit from issue 1. So like it became the industry standard because McFarlane's Spider-Man was so well loved. And he had
that's interesting. The mainstream changed into a different kind of mainstream.
I would almost add to that McFarlane's Spider-Man and Venom. Because essentially
no, you're not wrong. That's a totally accurate statement. Yeah.
It's like you look at Spawn, it's like it's Venom.
Right, but I was saying the star power that McFarlane brought to the
I know.
But part of his star power was wrapped up in Venom because it was so stupidly popular in those minutes. And I say that Venom is such a weird character, and the reason I say stupidly popular is because Venom is an anti-character, and he always was intended to be like an inverse, a phenomenological inverse to Peter Parker, where Peter Parker is the everyman. Nobody is. Venom is a no man.
I think you mean ontological, not phenomenological.
Yeah,
maybe.
I was trying to refer to the idea that he functions in a way that is an unthing.
Well, that would be teleological.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I am being a jerk.
Now we're just getting illogical.
If you need to refine my speech a little bit, if I'm stretching the boundaries of my $5 words, I accept
to bring this back to zines. I really think that it would be great to kind of find places to be like, hey, Mr. Mainstream indie guy. Without me trying to really impose upon you, can you take a look at my comic for 5 minutes, say a blurb, and I can put it in a zine, and you can kind of participate in this indie kind of underground thing and not really risk anything. But still,
maybe write it on the back of a postcard, write your review, and then I'll take a picture of that or scan it, and then I'm gonna put that in there, so it's your handwriting.
It would actually be even more underground and punk, right? Is tricking disliked people into giving a review of your thing and putting into the zine.
That's what I'm saying. I want to bring some.
I like that too. That'd be really fun. Subversive,
Getting Heather Antos to do
it. Oh gosh, yeah.
But how cool would that be? Yeah.
But that's but if you think about the punk scene, there was some kayfabe energy, right? It wasn't always everyone's getting along.
My gosh,
it's so we could bring some of that in a positive way, right?
There's a reason the Sex Pistols only had a few albums in addition to murder suicide.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. We could maybe channel some of that all those years of drama that's getting repetitive and stupid on YouTube streams. Maybe we could channel some of it in a positive way, in a zine way, make it edgy and interesting. Let someone go on a soapbox typewritten rant. There are some people who are really good at that in our indie scene, and it's like, you know what, maybe we need to give them a soapbox and a zine where they can just put whoever they want to on blast, and you can pay to read it. You know,
Oh my gosh.
Who we ought to have in this conversation is Tony Sizzle and Tonic Mole. They would eat this.
Yeah. Oh wow, they are totally on target with that.
That's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Doug, I don't think Doug Garrett would be far behind either. I mean, I know he's in the middle of some other stuff.
He's done it before,
but
he had the Corona thing.
Yeah, that's what we tried really hard to do something like that for that. So,
but instead of what I think Doug Garrett learned, what I remember him saying was like how hard it was to herd all these different illustrators to come together so you could print one thing. But we don't have to do that with this.
Right, and that was all happening at this exact same time as like Legend of the Lone Wolf was being hung up in production hell. So
So I like the idea of actually making a zine where we actually do collect a bunch of these cats. But what I would do that I think would counter the corral effect is basically make and I pitched this at Matt, where we have a list of features we put in like, you know, in like a publish it 3 times a year kind of a situation, right? And here are our features, and we line up multiple people. And it's like, well, if one person doesn't meet the deadline, we've got like 2 or 3 others who are on backup. And then like and then like we could cycle you into the next one.
Okay. Here's an alternate idea, right? We were talking about the idea of if everybody who participates, like in Inktober or something, and then people that are interested can just, you know, get free product, right? We do that for a month. Then everybody who participates, everybody who actually shows up for it, we can collect stuff, and then we could look at selling a collected volume through like an Etsy store or Gumroad or something.
After the fact.
After the fact. And then
that's fair. Then it's kind of no pressure. It's just whoever
there's no
shows
pressure
up.
at all. And if people like really want to participate, but they're just like, oh well, you know, I had to spend March redoing my, you know, water main. I guess I don't get to do that this year, you know.
Well, I'm okay with putting a little pressure on it because let me put it this way. Some of the contributions that the way I was structuring it were going to be so brief. Like approaching the industry professionals and being like, look at 4 pages, which will literally take 2 minutes, write 2 to 3 sentences, which is like, I was just looking at a punk magazine that had reviews, and that's what they did. They did like 3-sentence reviews, and it's like 3 sentences takes you what? 5 minutes if you're like the quartering.
It depends on the sentence. I tell you, sometimes I slave.
I don't think Doug TenNapel or Ethan Van Sciver are going to take that long summing up Omega Girl. So just like throwing that out there, right? And it's like, you know, so like if we make the target right, and then it's like even for some of the comic book people, it's like make a page. Oh, I can't do a page. What in a month? Like get over yourself. Like there are people who make indie video games in a week. Like get over yourself.
I need you a page before the end of the night. Let's go.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, like you make the targets, targets small enough that you can basically put enough in, and then it's like, dude, get a page done.
And it has to be lo-fi, like
right, exactly.
It's got to be, so don't overthink it. You're not sitting down like your main comic.
Exactly.
You know?
It's not like you know, hey Ethan, where you need to spend 2 months drawing every line on God's green earth on Cyberfront.
Grab a brush pen, just make graffiti.
Right. Yeah.
Another person that I think would be really down on this and have some really good insights would be my friend Dan Connor, because he came up in the punk zine scene.
Oh, great!
Way back in the day, he was an army brat, and he just was in the middle of all that stuff, and that's kind of what led him toward Antarctic, and doing his own comics, and he's always kept that punk flavor to stuff. And he was down. He just recently moved out this way to Nebraska, and he was down to the Minicon, and we got to sit down with him and Josh and stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was a good day. It was a good day. But I bet he would be down for something like this too.
So we'll have a collected edition, in some way, whether it's after the fact or there's some kind of people, you know, join in, and it's already established who's going to be part of it. I'll go off on my own and just say, you guys mail me 2 stamps, and I'll send you. I'll have my own thing going on too, and maybe I can encourage people. I don't know. Maybe for that month, you've got like an emoji on your Twitter handle that lets people know that, I don't know, I might be overthinking it, but if you see that emoji that lets you know that you can ask for a PO box from them and send them a letter, like something that's like you're the one, you as the collector, as the person sending out stamps, are the one who's collecting stuff from all your favorite creators.
The idea
I still want to. What do you think of that?
I like it, and I don't like it, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Because the sort of like everyone do their own thing is kind of like where we are at already. Like the thing,
that's fair.
A zine, if the specialness of a zine, because everything else is just kind of like, hey, reach out to me, I'll give you a sticker or a tchotchke or whatever, right? The point of a zine is the fact that there is some sort of coming together, and it's got special features in it, and it's a rough indie product, but it is a product, and it has been edited in some fashion and put together so that you are getting something, even if it's like Xeroxed, you're still getting a small scale production.
Yeah, and I honestly think it should be Xeroxed. I'm not even kidding.
I'd love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
no, dude. I mean, like I said, I believe in the lo-fi. I don't know if it's where I'm at.
No, it's your vibe. Yeah, you get it.
Like, and a ton of like, if you guys go check out Global Comics, like some of the stuff that's on there for free, some of the stuff that's on there that we have behind a few pages behind the paywall or whatever are mini comics. So you guys can check out that on the thing there. And if you're interested, in any of the titles or whatever, you can always shoot me an email. So, but yeah, that's part of that.
You know what's better? Like, regardless, like all of these ideas are better than what I've seen pitched around, which has been in there's a lot of good faith, I think, but like kind of limited effectiveness ideas that have been thrown around these last few years, where it's like, let's put together a PDF of sections of everybody's comics in some way, like stuff we've already made, and here's
Like
a chapter of this, here's a chapter of that. That's all right, but that's I don't know, that's like just getting promotional material in the mail, along with your like Domino's coupons or something. Like I don't know, that just doesn't feel as exciting to me as like Matt Reese and Twitless and the Metal and Cross Comics. They all got out their printer paper and ballpoint pens and they drew a comic. Like that's something a lot more fun.
Self-contained to just that thing that you're getting. It's made for it as well.
Made for it. Yeah.
Like I said, when we put together this zine, you're gonna get stuff. You're gonna get stuff that you can't get anywhere. We're gonna ask hard-hitting questions. We'll like maybe feature one. The way I was envisioning it, we'd have like maybe one artist be like the main guy that we interview, and he does like 4 pages of a story. Ooh, and then like other people we get pitch in to just toss in like one or a strip, and then and then we put other features in and the reviews from maybe some industry pros, and then other just nonsense we can fit in there to make it crazy and wacky, but like stuff that you could only read, like questions that I would only ask off stream, that I was already throwing some at Matt C, and I was like, I will ask some personal space violating questions that people will only get if they mail a post office box.
I love it's got to be raw. Every page is raw.
Yeah, exactly.
In some way.
And then even if you're got a one or 2 page story, it can be continued in the next issue too.
Perhaps,
The other thing that I would probably end up doing, because I try to use everything at some point, is that those may end up, those might be thumbnails for a different project or something.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you spin it off, you do your own thing.
Gets delayed later, gets worked on later on, because there's like because I'm already thinking like there's like little pockets of our universe that we've never explored that are only exist in my head,
See, I was gonna say, like, I'm looking forward to like doing an interview with Reese, because I think he's got some really interesting stories. If I start asking those very personal, space violating questions, like if you ask me, like mine would be boring. It'd be like, well, I went to church.
Well, that Reese, he's a real reprobate, so I'll be finding real good stuff on him.
Yeah, I
What's
know.
fun
Right?
too is in
You're the
between
one
my
who's like-
chapters, I already do a thing called Terzek's Codex, where I do like a single page thing that kind of gives you a little random information about the world. So I'm already kind of used to doing that all the time.
Just to give you guys a preview of what I would be asking when we do like a Q&A with Reese, I'm going to say, Reese, you have said that without the grace of God, no, don't answer this question. We're going to save this for the Q&A.
No spoil.
Okay. But
This
so I'm gonna
goes
ask the
in the
question.
zine.
I will ask the question. So I'm going to give you a preview of the question, so chat can just like bait their breath for this. So you said that without the grace of God, you would be in jail for murder.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get the.
Oh my gosh! Don't you want this zine, guys?
We're gonna dig into that one.
Is that worth 2 stamps? Come on, chat.
Well,
where are you at, chat?
Don't answer. No, you're not allowed to answer. No, we're saving for the zine. We're to save that one for the
zine.
That's
the spirit. Oh my gosh! We're gonna have way too much fun with this.
That's the type of rawness that you would get in a zine. I'm gonna be like, so I want a story behind that. I want names and dates.
Okay.
Raw zine. There we go. Raw Reese. There we go. Yeah. So that's kind of that's the kind of thing. Yeah.
The raw take.
We'll figure out we'll figure out what to ask the rest of you guys. I've got a couple of questions uncomfortable ones I can ask Matt C.
I can't wait. It's almost like if you get this thing, you get something like that. What do you do with it except read it and appreciate it in that moment? And you like, what do you like? That's its normative. That's its native experience. Is like sitting in your hand and only there. But like we've had that with comics, obviously, but you've got all these like digital, like parasocial experiences with all these creators and writers and stuff and in live streamers, but you don't have those physical native experiences. Like, so what do you do with, like, do you post that online after you read it? Probably not. You probably just be like, it's almost like the live stream that never existed, but everyone got to experience it because it was like a physical, you know what I mean? Like you got to learn something about Matt Reese, but you actually didn't have to tune into something to learn it. You actually got to help, maybe you read him like write something down, right? Like it's like journal entry. Like you read his handwriting describing his answering that question. And how interesting would that be?
You're muted, buddy.
Yeah, I was gonna say no, you don't. Nobody reads my handwriting.
Yeah, I caught myself when I said that. I was like, oh, do I want to?
Because I don't know. It's real bad.
Mine's I don't know. Mine's pretty bad. We might have to have a bad handwriting write-off because like I've been told I have like awful penmanship.
So here's a little personal story. I have
Don't save it for the zine. Save it for the zine.
This is not that. This is a different one. This is a long one.
Okay, right.
So,
Mrs. H, you're going to be in this zine too. You are way too productive for someone who's only been in these spaces for a few months. Like you are committed. Okay.
Well, it's actually I was looking back and like the first pickle drawing that we got was about a year ago. So.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. She's an old head now. All right.
So yeah. So anyway,
you go way back, Mrs. H.
She's been pickled.
So you guys might know that there's something a little off about me. So when I was a kid in school, I was a lot to handle, and so I got sent to the psychiatrist to figure out why I had these learning difficulties.
These are zine questions I want to ask. You need to save some of this.
No, here's the thing.
I want to dig into that.
Just my handwriting. So years and years later, I'm married. I've got kids. I've got a normal job. All that kind of stuff. And my dad's going through a bunch of stuff, and he hands me this stack of paper, and he says, "This is from the 2-day long psyche eval we sent you to when you were like 12." And so I'm looking through it, and there's all kinds of bizarre notes in there, and all sorts of weird things. But the one thing they had is like one of these psychologist students that sat down with me for hours on end. gave up this write-up about how bad my penmanship was and how it might be sign of a deranged mind.
Okay, pause it there because I have a bunch of follow-up questions I'm going to ask, but we're going to save those because that's just gold.
Or it might be the signs that you were a 12-year-old kid that didn't know how to write.
Yeah, I'm a 12-year-old kid with bad coordination.
Don't spoil the magic. Don't spoil the magic. I'm going to ask about the crazy guy who writes comics. All right.
Yeah, Reese, you're actually gonna do an auto bio one pager, which would be so fun. You could tell your answer in comic form.
I actually did, Twitless has read it. I did a sort of an auto this summer for an independent study that I did. That is sort of
very nice,
sort of a memoir because that was the assignment. But it's a memoir, as a study of everyday heroism. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I really add
this
one
is
more page to the thing, but I haven't gotten.
This is so potent. Like we've been talking. Like everyone's been trying to figure out. Like what do we do other than 5 talking heads on a screen, and and we're trying our best to interact with the chat. Like that's a decent. Like it's not bad. I mean, there's a reason everyone gravitated to this because it was better than what we had before. But like now it's like, well, can we add to that, or is there more? This doesn't replace that, but like we gotta. There's so much opportunity for engagement and interactivity, and just kind of off the cuff. Like we're not trying to make any money off this, but like let's just have some fun in a really interesting way with all these people. We know all these people's like their little avatars and stuff. But like, what if there's another dynamic to it?
I agree.
Anyway, I'm pumped. I'm so glad that you're excited about this.
Abigail ribbed me from the chat, man. That's some fun nonsense right there.
I'm excited.
I'm gonna go back to I'm gonna go finish a page tonight, but thanks for letting me do the call in. It was a good show.
And thanks for coming.
I was gonna drop it in the chat and I never got around to it, and it's 9 here. So I actually got to cut out myself.
Oh, there you go.
So there you have it, guys.
All right, we'll save Choose Your Own Blood Venture for next time. We are making our way through it.
Yeah. So next week we do have a show planned for next week.
All right.
Which is Who Killed Funny Animal Comics? Yeah, we're gonna notice that we're gonna be talking about funny animal comics as a genre and what the hell happened to them. Taylor we were talking about doing this week.
Furries.
Maybe that'll be part of the conversation, I'm sure. But Taylor Gibson, Cartoonicus, is going to be with us specifically to talk about it because that is his passion, our funny animal comics.
Oh, and how?
And guys, if you're interested in thinking about looking at a Reese Take It Funny Animal Comics, go check out idealcomics.net, where every Monday we are dropping for 7 weeks. We are dropping a new Grabbit strip featuring Grabbit the Rabbit Superhero. Which is my little superhero X funny animal comic. It is in continuity with the rest of our stuff. So go check it out.
Very nice.
There you have it. Okay, guys.
Should never have cammed up. Thanks, Abigail.
Sorry. Dominic Powell had one last question that he wanted us to answer. It was way back. So we can quickly hit it.
It was a good one.
He said, where is it? He was asking us what we were, I think, looking forward to after the pendulum swings back more to the center. In a cultural way, like what are we most looking forward to if culture starts to I
see it. This one.
There you go.
Even if it's a slow burn.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I reject the entire paradigm.
Yeah.
But
I knew you'd say that.
I do.
I respect it. That's not me. I'm not undercutting you.
it's really not it's a binary. There's good and there's bad. And there's lots of things in the world that can either be true or not, good or bad. And so it feels like it might be
I think the way he's intending it.
Yeah, I know.
I think the way he's intending it is like as things have swung so far politically left. Like if you look at the MCU, Rings of Power, like the major corporations and the entertainment we get, and as that pendulum reaches the zenith of its arc, and then prepares to start coming back towards the other way as cultural movements tend to do. What are you most looking forward to in that cultural kind of movement?
So the pendulum swings up and we all become Finnish. Edaming in the chat says.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, well, let's go panel. You guys talk. Because I don't have an answer prepared. Think about
Metal. What are you looking forward to? If that inevitable swing back.
I don't know. Let me think about that. I think I'm usually just too wrapped up in whatever I'm doing that I don't really look forward to much outside of it.
Right? Yeah, it's like I don't care. Once we're so indie at this point that we just don't care. That's
kind of always been that way. Yeah. Like even in grade school, I was drawing my own comics. Like I'd rather just do my own thing.
I'll say one.
Okay.
I'll say one. What do you got? I'm looking forward to being able to watch a character that that maybe I've loved for a very long time and not inwardly cringing because of how it's been like co-opted so hard for something that was on the other pendulum swing. So it's like, I want to be able to go and watch Spider-Man or something and walk out of the theater and not have to feel like, oh, like my stomach turned in knots. So even if it's just like, even if it's not perfect, even if it's still like, not what I want to see, if I can just walk out and not have my stomach just like invert, I think that would be something enough to look forward to. That's setting the bar very low, but that's how I feel. Cause like,
I think that's kind of high in a way, because yeah, cause you're talking about like the biggest American pantheon icons finding like a neutral center ground again. And that could happen. Like, so the way I see it, just quickly, like there's either the pendulum swinging and most of America becoming centrist, or it's the pendulum swinging and it's actually just decentralized, like it's just a bunch of fractals of like everything is everywhere, so it everything kind of neutralizes out in the wash, and you've got Spider-Man that stays in a particular area, but Spider-Man, his sun sets, and there's all these other different competing things for your attention. And that there's trade-offs with both. It'd be nice. I like Twitless's. He might, I don't know. And to me that seems more optimistic, to think that something that's that powerful to the American psyche.
Well, if it can happen, if they can make Top Gun Maverick, I think they can make a normal red-blooded superhero movie.
Yeah. So here's here's part of the issue with it. This is what gets back to my rejection of the idea of where I think it's a binary system of wholesomeness, of salutogenesis versus pathogenesis, right?
Ooh, wow.
And I think every sorry, I've been studying.
No, I like that one. That was a $7 one. That's more than you have to pay for the scene, by the way, guys. Just for those in the chat.
I think that every system has these things that produce health and goodness and wholesomeness and love and truth and beauty, and these things that destroy those things. So if we can, as a society, understand that what those things really are and mesh them out in a way that says, okay, wholesomeness and love and family and beauty and aging with dignity and bringing up the next generation and godliness and faith and truth are good, and we can acknowledge the goodness of those things, and maybe not all of those things all at once, but that those are good things, and the things that burn and destroy those things are therefore bad. So you get to something that feels like a middle ground because people are actually agreeing on what goodness is. And it's not really a middle ground. It's that people are agreeing on what goodness is. because that's the reason why I don't think the left-right paradigm as we understand it, as it's been diluted
That's
and
interesting.
confused and lied about since the since the 1920s.
Well, so which do you think is more likely, Matt? Do you think most people are going to agree, or it's just going to be more voices so that everyone has a chance to find their tribe with which they agree?
I'm not sure those are actually different, right? So if reality gets a vote, right? Because here's the thing: is if reality gets a vote, then everybody, people as a group of individuals and families can notice that these things breed success and these things breed failure, these things breed health and these things breed sickness, without having it come from a central structure. So you get the decentralization of things, and everybody, if you're applying these principles evenly, you're getting these similar results of goodness and truth and life, to go back to Deuteronomy, choose this day, and in choosing, choose life. that we have that thing.
Sure.
If we have that, so if we have a multitude of individuals and families that are choosing life, then they're going to it's an analog that they agree on what's good because they're living out what's good, rather than having it come down from above, which tells us we will tell you what is good, which is the paradigm we're struggling under now. Is that all
right? So which thing are you looking forward to the most? If it's one thing, we've got to answer Dominic's question.
Yeah.
Well,
don't give him a paradigm, or he'll.
Yeah. I guess for me, I'm excited to see where my kids take the world. Does that make sense? Because they're not there yet, but they're grown, right? So around the corner, they've got their career. They hopefully have families. I tell you, I want to live my life out being covered in grandchildren. Right.
Spoken like a very dad response. Cross, what's the thing you're looking forward to the most if things make a turn?
I would say looking forward to more people picking up my books and reading them.
Cool.
Because they're coming back to a real reality. So I think
that's pretty grounded.
So basically, we all had the
I've just been enjoying your blissful smile throughout this entire you're like a little angel. Chat, isn't this guy he just never stops smiling? It's great. I'm glad you're cammed up, man.
I guess I am too.
So I hope that at least half answers your question, Dominic. So thank you for asking.
Damning from the chat says, I want America to go full Finland. Bear attacks will cease by 20%. We will all like to go boating in the spring in our swimmies just after the ice melts. We'll eat salmon and rye every night.
Is Edming from? Is Edming are you from that area of the world? Is that?
I don't know, but I will tell you, salmon and rye every night. I can get on right.
I like really salmon every night though, and it probably gets a little gassy if I'm.
Well, there's different ways of soup.
Just say it. I love salmon. Yeah. Salmon's a great fish.
It's the king of fish. But yeah. Anyway, we're gonna call it a night, guys. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for chatting. Let's get back to that.
Let's do it again sometime.
That energy. Get back to telling everybody to just make art. I think some of these feelings were on board in before the pandemic, and I think a ton of people that believed it forgot or got told to shut up, and I think that's part of it. So I think I think it was in the water. It's something in the water that we need to nurture, to fertilize, to grow, and flip everybody else off. So okay. A little bit of peace and a little bit of violence mixed together. That's what I say.
I'm pretty good at that last
We're going to call it. Good night, everybody. And next week, what killed funny animals? Goodbye.
You did.
It wasn't me.